Good afternoon. Thank you very much. My name is Manuel Couto Miranda. I'm director from Portuguese Pavilion in EXPO 2020 Dubai. For me, it's an honor to receive all the distinguished guests, distinguished speakers, and special Mrs. Rosalia Vargas, our president for Ciência Viva, because for us, for the program, for the Portuguese Pavilion during 6 months, to host this event is, for us, it's a special occasion. And also, as you know, in the general program from the EXPO Dubai, it starts in a few days, the Water Week, and about this subject. And I'm really so proud to host and work together with Mrs. Rosalia Vargas and all the team to organize this fantastic event. And also, you can see outside also the exposition. Thank you very much for coming, and also use the Portuguese Pavilion in your house, and please visit our pavilion. As you know, right now, Portugal, with the number of visitors, we have right now 650 million visitors. We have one of the best locations in the Expo. We have one of the best terraces and restaurants, and we must be proud about our country. Thank you very much for coming, and I give this stage for Mrs. Rosalia Vargas. Thank you for organizing this event. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Well, I will start in Portuguese. Vou começar em português and I will change to English. Estamos em streaming, portanto, cumprimentar todos os que estão a ver. Queria uma palavra especial e o Sr. Diretor dirá a Luís Castro Henriques, o Presidente da ICEP, que de facto foi extraordinário para podermos estar aqui e portanto, agradecer-lhe a si, o Manuel Couto Miranda, e em si cumprimento toda a equipa aqui do Pavilhão de Portugal, que faz, de facto, este projeto tão vivo e que a minha equipa, aqui presente esta semana, tem dito sempre o melhor de todo o apoio que têm dado. E, portanto, quero aqui agradecer muito aos meus colegas de equipa, que estão aqui esta semana toda, muito dedicados. Bruno Araújo Gomes, obrigada. Também ao Júlio Costa. Nuno, obrigada. Têm feito um trabalho muito, muito bom. E, portanto, agradecemos. Bravo. Great work they are doing here, and how committed you are in this work, approaching people to science with lots of curiosity and love of knowledge. For me, it's a great pleasure to be here, experiencing my 3rd World Expo after Lisboa, Sevilla, and now Dubai. These kind of events are special opportunities to involve different countries with same goals. Together for culture, for science, for technology, for business. And opening windows for knowledge, and today, more than ever, we can say, to have conscientious how important is for peace and respect all over the world. Is that what means to be together, all these countries in this place? I would like to thank you, EXPO TV channel, to be here, certainly enlarging the interest of the issue that is gathering us together around this so precious issue, which is water. How will water shape our future? This is about the role of science centers and public engagement with water topics. How important is this topic? So I also would like to welcome those that are following us and participating by streaming. Thank you for being with us. And now it's time to introduce my colleague from the board to the directors of Ciência Viva, and also from Leiden University, Pedro Russo, who will be the chairperson of this session. Not yet. Now I have the microphone. So I still on stage. Well, Abdulaziz Ala Galan, dear Aziz, he is Executive Director of Mishkat Interactive Center in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. And he is also President of NAMES, the North African Middle East Science Centers Network. We met already in Lisbon, in Portugal, and in other parts of the world, and also now in Dubai. So I'm very happy to welcome you, and thank you very much for accepting this invitation. Rim Sabri, well, it's so nice to have you here also. You are head design and fabrication section of the Planetarium Science Center in Alexandria, Egypt. I also have in Egypt. It's a wonderful place, and you have also a wonderful team. Thank you very much for coming. And that's it now. The floor is yours. Thank you.
Obrigado, Rosalia, and thank you so much for joining us today. We're going to be talking about the role of the science centers in engaging with water topics, so we are quite pleased to be here. I'm going to start with a short presentation, providing a bit of the context, why we decided to meet here, to talk about water, and also to show a bit what's the role of Ciência Viva, the national agency in Portugal that is implementing and developing programs in scientific and technological culture, and why we are interested in this topic and why this topic is so important for us and for our work. So Ciência Viva is actually based in the headquarters of Ciência Viva are in a building that used to be one of the main buildings of the EXPO 98 in Lisbon. So we have a very strong connection between EXPOs and the work that we're doing. At the time, it was the Pavilion of the Knowledge of the Seas, and then the seas dropped, and now the Ciência Viva headquarters are at the Pavilion of Knowledge. We look at knowledge in a very broad and long way. Bruno, my presentation, can you, for some reason? Okay, now it should, okay. So also in Portugal, we manage a large network of science centers. At the moment, there's 21 Ciência Viva science centers in the country, including in Azores, the islands in Atlantic. And these science centers are very diverse. They have different shapes, different forms, from old factories, from old churches to completely new buildings, and they approach science in an interesting but also relevant way for the local communities. We work a lot with the local municipalities, and these partnerships are very important for us. How can we bring research, universities, researchers closer to the local communities? This network is expanding. We are working at the moment with 5 new potential science centers, and very soon we're going to have new science centers. We also manage a network of schools, and these are schools inside the science centers. So we bring classrooms and the teachers, and they work within the science center for at least 1 full week. So it's having schools inside science centers. There's also expanding also to some of the Portuguese-speaking countries. And a very new project that is very soon we'll have the first farms are the Ciência Viva farms. As you know, Portugal, like most of the countries, also have a very strong rural agriculture communities and businesses, and these farms will help us to highlight the role of agriculture in the regional development and also sustainable development in an approachable and relevant way for the communities. And something that we are extremely proud are the science clubs, the Ciência Viva science clubs inside the schools. We have a large network of more than 200 schools with science centers where teachers have the time, have the resources to develop proper activities, STEAM activities, and this is also expanding to extra 650. So we have a network, pretty much all the major schools in the country will have a science club coordinated by our network. So it's as an incredible network, is one of we are very proud, and we work closely with the Ministry of Education in Portugal for this one. And Ciência Viva is also about public engagement, and we've been doing activities like Ciência Viva in the summer, which we open the labs, we open every place that can engage with science, and we have been doing this for, I think, 25 years. And every summer, there's thousands of people that engage with science in a very interesting way. Public participation, civic participation in science, consultation, focus groups, working with the public, not only as recipients of knowledge, but also as using the knowledge that we have from society to help to shape the future of science is something that is also very core to what Ciência Viva believes. That science is not only to communicate, it's also for people to participate and be engaged with science. And of course, part of the work that some of the team members here do is developing new exhibitions. How can we find ways to create interesting content that people can really engage? And these are just one of the pictures of our latest exhibition about water, and one of the reasons we are here. But we do this also for many other topics. So, talking about water, I was playing a bit with some of the space data. My background is in space sciences and astronomy, so I always like to play a bit with the data. So this is an image from 2 days ago from the Dubai area. And I like this image is from an European satellite called Sentinel. But I like this picture for several reasons. One of them is everything that you see blue is water. And of course, we have the sea, but we also have some water, inland water, very clear. But I think what I like here is the way that humans not only live next to water, but also how humans are also shaping some of the coastal areas, some of the waterway that we have. So is this, and of course you also have some of the green areas, so is this how humans are living together with water, shaping the coasts, living next to it, almost being essential for us to be really a part of this system. So I think really, this is just the images are from the Sentinel. That is an incredible constellation of satellites around space that provides every day 20 terabytes of data from Earth that we can really track and use in an interesting way, and also for us to learn more about water, about ecosystems, about cities, about societies. It's an incredible resource. We also know, and these are the results from the last Eurobarometer, there was a question to all European citizens, and one of the questions, of many questions, but one of the questions was about the role of citizens in science and technology. And across Europe, citizens want to be more involved in science and technology development. We see that across all the different countries across Europe, they want to participate more. So they don't want to sit down and receive knowledge, they want to have an active role in deciding and participating in developing new knowledge. And this is clear from these results, and I think we, as science centers, we have the duties to facilitate that type of collaborations and that type of participation. So I think it's for us to look at what's the role that we, as science centers, can have. And that's why we invite our colleagues, Reem, Abdulaziz, to share also your perspectives, how science communicators, science educators can really participate in these topics, because they are very important. So I see the science centers as really these knowledge hubs, and knowledge hubs for increasing public awareness. But I think that's something that we have been doing quite well. But I think we also need to look at it as a knowledge hub for public participation, where the public can come, can share their views, can engage with policymakers, with the researchers, and trying to build the future that we want together. And the science centers, because they're approachable places, could really be the hubs for that type of communication. And I think that's something that for us is important. In our case, for the way that the Ciência Viva and the Knowledge Pavilion has been doing for our exhibition, is looking at the future scenarios, right? When we think about the future, there's a foresight research that people look at the different scenarios, in which direction we can go, which is the more probable, or which one that we like to have. And with the exhibition that we developed, we look at these scenarios. The water and filter exhibition, that is at the moment at the Knowledge Pavilion in Portugal, looks at these scenarios together, especially with young children and early teenagers, to look at how is going to be their future. And we start by looking at the present, two levels of the present. There's children, there's grown-ups, there's teenagers that live with access to water. And I think most of us in this room have daily access to water. But we also know that it's not the case for many children around the world. Access to water is very, very difficult. So we present these two scenarios. And the exhibition has different modules that shows these different scenarios. And then we look at the future. How is going to be our future if we don't have access to water? What kind of impact are we going to have? How can we actually work towards a future where we're going to have access to water that we know is essential? And we were just talking with Abdulaziz that, for example, in Saudi Arabia, fresh water is very scarce. So what kind of future you need to build to have access to water? And in this exhibition, for kids and teenagers, we look at these future scenarios and what the role that kids can have in creating these new scenarios. So there's just some of the images of our exhibition that we have at the Knowledge Pavilion. It's very interactive, very engaging, and the kids really explore these topics and these scenarios in different way. We also had the visit of some high-level officials, like the President of the European Commission and our Prime Minister when she came to visit Lisbon, and they also interact with the exhibition, which is very important to also to engage with the policymakers. So to finish, I would like to show you a short video about some of the main elements of our exhibition, and then I think we can start with your presentations. So at the moment, we brought some of the models from this exhibition to the Pavilion of Portugal here. So at the moment, if you go to Lisbon and you look at our exhibition, you'll find these stickers saying the exhibition has traveled to Dubai, where we have been here since the beginning of the week, since the weekend pretty much, engaging especially with children. Luckily, we have a lot of school groups visiting, and they've been engaging, looking at the exhibition, participating, and of course always facilitated by our team here. And it's been a great success, so we're very, very pleased that we are here and we can share a bit some of our content, knowledge, and our ideas, how science centers can engage with water topics for the future. Thank you. So, and I think we can already move before we have a discussion. I think we should have a discussion at the end. We're going to have some questions, but we'll immediately give the microphone to our colleague Abdulaziz, that's going to talk about education and public engagement with water topics. Abdulaziz, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for the invitation. So, allow me to introduce myself once again, because normally I use my name as an icebreaker. My name is Abdulaziz Al-Hajailan. So it's a difficult name to pronounce for non-Arab speakers. It's kind of a throat-scratching exercise, because Abdulaziz, and it's difficult, so you can just call me Aziz. The right one. Okay, so first of all, I used these goggles because I was Googling some pictures, and I found that this goggle is similar to what I'm wearing, so I felt that it's a sign to be used. It adds nothing to the presentation. So I tried to start with boa tarde. I hope that I can someday speak Portuguese. So as I said, Abdulaziz Al-Hajran, you can just call me Aziz because it's easier, just to save the hassle and save your throat. I'm the executive director of Mishkat Interactive Center in Saudi Arabia that focuses on renewable energy, and currently the president of NAMES, which is the North Africa and Middle East Science Center Network. So my presentation wouldn't take long. Water is an important aspect of our lives. Whatever you call it in your language, it is important. So I'll be talking about water in 4 main elements of my presentation. At first, the chemical compound. Water is much more than a scientific compound. It's not just H2O, it is life. So our bodies is consisted of water. We need water to live. Plants need water to grow. Animals as well. Everything in life requires water. So this is why it is important. And we need, when talk about water, we go beyond that scientific compound of water. Now, talking about the new generation, are they really aware about the importance of water? Personally, I doubt this. I don't think they understand how important it is. Why? Because I think our education system probably, I'll talk about Arab world or probably the world, does not talk about water and give it justice. It's either talking from a scientific part when talking directly about the compound or about what is needed to grow plants. Probably this is where we use water, talking about seas and oceans. Nothing more. So what we need to do is to talk more to the next generation about the importance of water by linking it to their daily life, to their day-to-day life. Talking about any scientific subject or information without linking it to people's lives won't work and won't give any effect. So again, going to formal education, is it enough? Can formal education solve the problem? Can formal education help people understand the importance of water? They're doing the max that they could do. They might be able to do more, but again, we need to support, we need to complement each other. So informal education and formal education do not work against each other. I was just discussing with my colleague now that what's happening now is formal educators find informal educators are an enemy rather than a team member that we work together. The issue here is we always talk about science in a difficult way, as if we are talking with scientists. When talking about science, whether it was energy or water or any other subject, we need to be aware that we're talking with people and audiences that are varied from scientists to young children, to young adults, to adults, and so on. So we need to use the right mean of communication, the right channel of communication. If we're talking about with the teenagers and younger, we need to knock the doors of the mediums that they follow most. So for example, just probably a year ago, our Science Center started its TikTok account. Some people thought that was a silly move. But again, if we want to reach our audiences and educate them and inspire them, we need to knock on their doors and use the right medium for them. We cannot talk with young generation through lectures or through newspapers. That won't work. We need to use the right content and deliver it using the right channels. Moreover, people need to understand how is water linked to every single aspect of their lives. It's not just the water you drink or the water you use to wash your hands or so. It's much more. In fact, you need water to live. And I wrote on top of my slide a verse from the Holy Quran, which is وَجَعَلْنَا مِنَ الْمَاءِ كُلَّ شَيْءٍ حَيٍّ, which is out of water we made every living thing. So this is very important to understand. I know that young Muslims in general have read this verse multiple times, but no one gave it a thorough thought to understand how it is important talking about water is not something that we can discuss in an hour or two. It requires multiple conferences fully dedicated to water. But again, we need to do our role as science communicator in general, not just science centers. We need to talk about water and link it to people's lives. They need to understand how does water affect them, how lack of water affect them, what would happen if any country, God forbid, couldn't have access to water, to fresh water. As my colleague Pedro said, that in Saudi, we don't have much rivers or probably any, so we depend heavily on desalinated water. And that costs a lot, requires a lot of energy, a lot of money. But again, the general public don't understand how does that affect them. Maybe those who are, let's say, parents or those who are spending and managing houses, they might see the difference if they use more water, that they're going to pay more bills on water and electricity. But the young generation do not know that. So we need to understand, and all our content and programs have to be developed based on data, based on feedback from our audiences. A silly thing that we used to do, and I have to say it, that we used to develop programs based on what we think is right. And you shouldn't, try to approach people based on what you think is right, because this is subjective. We need to have focus groups, understand what people know and what they do not know, in order to develop a well-tailored program for that specific type of audience. There is no one-size-fits-all program. Some people, whenever you talk to them, do you want to develop this program for which age group? They said, for everyone. That doesn't work. It might work in very rare occasions, but generally it does not. We need to approach each age group, each probably maybe ethnicity, each nationality, with a program that is tailored for them. We need to do more. Some people always have that excuse of we don't have enough fund to build a science center about water or a traveling exhibition or so. But you don't need that. Science communication can be done through multiple mediums. It's not just science centers. We can develop animated movies, not informative. It should be informal, kind of short, dramatic movie that has some scientific messages embedded with it. People need to receive it the way they receive anything that is entertaining. From experience, and I don't have that much of experience, but again, from experience, we can say that people mostly link science to boredom. It's always boring. It's a lecture style. It's a one-way communication method. So they need to first understand that science isn't boring. Science is not for a limited type of people or not for just scientists. Yes, they have a major role in it, but it's for everyone. Your daily life is science. The tablet you use, the smartphone is science. Whatever you use, especially these times, everything depending on technology, this is all science. So the issue here, the general public don't understand that what they use the most and love the most on a daily basis is science. In the Arab world, and I'll talk about probably Saudi Arabia, and I don't have data for that, but from some colleagues with me, science colleges are not attractive enough. People normally settle for the School of Science, don't choose to join School of Science. I'm not sure if in Egypt it's the same, but normally you settle for School of Science. And the issue, the problem here, when you join it, it's not science in the way that describes the real science. It's a lecture style, one-way communication, and hence we're going back to linking it to boredom. So informal education has to go hand-to-hand with formal education. Education, and beyond education, we go to public engagement. We can go to entertaining and entertainment. I think talking about water can go beyond videos. We can go with music, with movies. It doesn't have to be very formal. I mean, you can do much to reach people, and we have to always think out of the box. on how to reach audiences. And I think within the pandemic, we felt that because we were pressured to find other mediums, we did. We started having virtual tours. We started working on videos with motion graphics, even with competition, virtual competitions with regard to science, whether in our case, energy, or as a sub, water. So we need to be open and think out of the box on how to reach people and be proactive how to reach people, not just depend on whatever comes to us and whatever pressure us. So being reactive or responsive won't work if we want to solve this issue. Again, talking to people and general public about climate change and expecting them to go hand in hand with us, I'm sorry, but I think whoever is going to think about this might be living in denial. People don't understand what is climate change. How do you expect people to take that seriously if they don't understand what do you mean? What does it mean that the sea level temperature would rise 1 or 2 temperature Celsius? So, well, they can still swim. That's what they can think about. It's not about climate change. We need to talk to them the language they understand, use the tone that they understand. So again, I've talked about this, that our role is to talk their language and be relevant. I cannot give a speech or a program or an exhibition in Portugal, for instance, from a Saudi point of view. I need to understand the Portuguese culture and what is missing in the education system. What do people look for when they seek information? Why aren't people working on preserving water more? This cannot happen if we just start working in denial and ignorance and we started developing whatever we think is right. People need to be approached in a better way, in a more suitable programs, to talk about important subjects. And the last point I would like to talk about is scientists and science, making it more popular. It's not just water and the information, science in general. Now we can see the most famous people aren't scientists, aren't politicians, aren't economics. They're most probably YouTubers and TikTokers. Now, some might find what they offer, the content they core or they develop is useful and some not. But again, they're the most famous people. And I don't think the right thing to do is to attack them. It's try to understand how did they become famous. And maybe we need to use this approach to make scientists famous. We need to work with scientists to talk more. We don't need just politicians. We know that sometimes people do not believe politicians, so we need scientists to talk. Even I was talking with Pedro this afternoon about the pandemic, that we haven't seen scientists talking in interviews or any platform. It's usually either government officials or doctors. So we have an essential part of the community that was missing. We need the scientists to talk about the work they've been doing, about how they analyze the virus, how did they work on the vaccine. I know that I shifted towards the pandemic, but again, I'm a talkative person, so someone just should pull the mic from me. If it was to me, I'll be talking until tomorrow if you have time. So again, and to summarize, science needs to be popular, not just water, not just energy, nothing. We have to start with science in general and link it to people's lives. Talk with every type of audience, the language they use and understand, using the medium they need, and make the information relevant. What we're doing is good, but we are very zoomed in. We need to zoom out, take a breath, and see the bigger picture and understand how can we add value and affect the lives of communities around the world, not only in our countries, in a very positive way. I don't want to take longer. I'm not sure how many minutes did I take. but normally...
One minute just to wrap it up.
Okay, that's good. So yeah, so yeah, water is very important, but we don't feel it, because we just turn on the faucet and we get water. We order a water in a restaurant or go to a grocery store and get a bottle and pay for it, but no one understands the science behind that. So this is something we need to work on more. Thank you for listening, and sorry for talking a lot. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Aziz. And also, I think it's a very nice perspective. And I think after our next speaker is going to touch some of these points, and I'm sure you're going to have some time for discussion. Reem, I think you're going to be next. I think you have a microphone next to you on your right-hand side. There's a microphone. Yes, and maybe, Aziz, if you can pass the mouse. I think should be on. Just talk. Yeah. Just need to keep it close to your mouth, and then just the mouse. So, Reem, I think your presentation is ready.
Okay. Hello. I'm here to introduce to you what our science center, the Planetarium Science Center of Bibliotheca Alexandrina, introduced to the public in the topic of our meeting, water. In the beginning, I wanted to... Yes, okay. Okay, it's working now. It's an introduction about the Planetarium Science Center and the Library of Alexandria. The Library of Alexandria have a lot of visitors each year, of children and youth attending events, concerts, and international gatherings. We are part of the cultural outreach of the Planetarium Science Center, which is connecting arts with heritage with science. The Planetarium Science Center is the part of the science. It's including a history of science museum and the Exploratorium. There is interactive exhibitions and exhibits, and the planetarium for showing the IMAX movies. The planetarium, the Exploratorium, and the History of Science Museum. The Planetarium Science Center is sharing these networks. One of these networks, Excite, NAMES, Aztec, IPS, OSIA, AOA. And now I will highlight the most important outreach activities of the Planetarium Science Center, which is the Science Festival, which is reaching a lot of people, maybe 6,000 to 7,000 people visiting per day, and we make it for 3 days annually in not only in Alexandria, in many governments in Egypt. And we try to cover the water topic in our annual events like the science festivity, and to cover the water problems and to introduce it to the public, the water pollution, and the climate change. This is the picture of Alexandria, one of Alexandria beaches, showing how the climate change changed the space of the sands by years. And the population raising effect on water demand now. And the wastewater problem. These four problems we are trying to introducing to the public in the coming activities. I will show you in pictures more than talk. We used to make a competition for making a sustainable city. Students make a design and development of sustainable city and cover these topics: the clean energy and the water treatment, pollution and garbage separation. Okay. This is some pictures for this competition exhibitions. Environmental friendly house, which includes some devices to conserve water, like tapes, and how to make the best use of the devices to don't waste water. And we are also organizing some contests for students to capture photos for human impact on marine life in Alexandria, and how they can see the solution of this bad habit, how they can make it better. And we are organizing also field trips to clean beaches and visiting lakes, and to raise their perception and respect to the environment. And this is some activities students make in the science festivity every year. This is a map for the Nile and the places of the population. How is population is always around the water sources and water filtration, activities about water filtration. Schools make like each school take a booth or some small exhibition to show people how to make filtration in different ways. And coloring competitions. Also, we are working on exhibitions fields. We hosted a permanent exhibition about underwater archaeology in the Alexploratorium for 2 years. It was in cooperation with the France Embassy in Egypt about the underwater archaeology in Alexandria. It's like models and movies and data about the underwater archaeology. Also, we hosted a touring exhibition which moved all around Egyptian governments about the Antarctica exhibition, which is the north, showing the North Pole life. This is the way the exhibition moves all around Egypt. All about the life in this continent. the North Pole continent. It's open air exhibition. And this is an exhibition that the Planetarium Science Center developed from the design to the fabrication and production steps, all the steps we did it internally, about the biodiversity and how the climate change affect the sea life and the water and marine life and the pollution. And finally, I wanted to show you the last thing. Some educational publications the Planetarium Science Center give it to the students during our festivals related to the water and to the environment and to the climate change. I can show each one if you want to see. It's like posters, coloring books, game to connect, so you can open it. Stickers for kids. So we distribute these educational publications to the public and to the students. And this game also. Mm-hmm. For kids to connect and play. Okay. Sorry? It's to show it to all of you, and I can send you digitally, all of you, all the... Yes, of course, you can take it, but I can send you all it digital to see it. Yeah, okay? Digital sources. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Reem. And then maybe you can already pass the microphone to our next speaker, maybe also the mouse, if you don't mind. And our next speaker, actually, it's very interesting that we have Professor Mohataz Ali with us, because like Aziz was saying before, it is very important for us to have researchers involved in the discussions. It's important to have the scientists deeply involved in the discussions, how to bring this to these topics to society, and also for them to be participating in the discussions. So Professor Ali is a program coordinator of the Chemical and Water Engineering program at the University of Sharjah here at the UAE. And Professor Ali is going to talk about the role of fresh water, let's say, in UAE, and how can we have some fresh water in UAE. And I think it's a very good example how science is essential to shape the future with water. So, Professor Ali, thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, thank you very much. I appreciate. Thank you very much, Pedro, for inviting me for this interesting events. Actually, and when the Chancellor of the University asked me, Prof. Hamid, that you have to attend this events, and I said, oh, Prof. Hamid, for what? He said, you have to give the awareness of the shortage of the water worldwide. With me is Professor Tahir Lawi. He's the leader of the ceramic membrane fabrication here in the UAE also. He's one of the top leaders in the water research and desalination in the world. Prof. Tahir Lawi with me. It's my colleagues. So thank you very much. This is Mohataz Ali, the coordinator of chemical and water desalination engineering programs. Today my presentation will be giving you like the awareness where we are going in the worldwide about the water. We are not like in the luxury time. We are not like in the time that we have a lot of water that we can drink. I will show you with the statistics, the conditions of the earth and where we are heading and where we are going. We can say it in the black era of the water in the world. So just let me give you an example. Look for this map, by the way. if you see the country, which is my friends from Saudi Arabia, by the way, here, and Egypt as well, if you look for the countries with the red colors, this is the countries under what they call extreme high-risk country. Extreme high-risk countries meaning that you don't have a fresh water, nor your annual renewable fresh water coming from rains is very rare. For examples, in UAE here, you are in UAE in March, temperature outside is 40, right? Along the years, it's rain only a day per year or maximum a week per year, which is not enough even to wet the lands. This is just an example to tell you that we don't have a fresh water supply. Countries such as UAE, Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, Oman, and Saudi Arabia as well, they have not enough fresh water, surface water, and even now, we can claim scientifically their underground water is gone. So they are staying what? They are staying underneath of the earth. It's a huge amount of the seawater. If you dig the earth to find the water, you will find the sea. No more the fresh water is supplied to you. So if you don't have energy and money, you are in big troubles. Okay, let me go a little bit in Europe. Okay, let me go. In Europe, I have a lot of discussions with the Max Planck in Germany and a lot of people in France and also in USA. In Europe, you are now in the luxury time of having the water, but you are not in good condition as well. You know why? Because of your industrial revolutions, you polluted your water. Your groundwaters, your surface waters, your river waters, it's already polluted with what? With the drugs. You have a lot of drugs right now in the waters. If you take your waters right now, you go to see your waters, characterize your waters contain drugs. These drugs cause what? You have a lot of cancer there. You have a lot of kidney problem, okay, liver problem. What's happened? Your water resources contaminated with a lot of pollution. So meaning that your fresh water, it's not enough because your fresh water became contaminated. Even if you have rivers, but never ever think that trust the rivers is fresh, that you can drink. Your 100 years ago, it's not like a 2022 right now. 2022, you have a lot of ships there and the rivers, which make oils, hydrocarbons, contaminations. You can see even the color is different. And sometimes you can see the color of the rivers and the waters turns to green. Australia facing problem. America, half of them are deserts. All the countries facing shortage of the water, extremely right now waters. And because of the storms, no accessible fresh waters, few countries in the world they can survive of freshing waters, and most of the countries in the world, they are facing huge shortage of the waters. Type. Let us to look for the top country scarcity, which is called high water stress. High water stress meaning that they have a storage of only 24 hours, 48 hours of water. If their desalination plant is gone, they can survive 2-3 days. Qatar, they have storage of it only 2 days. UAE, 5 days. If the desalination plant, all of them stops, you have to find a way to escape in 5 days. That is the fact. Look for the high water stress countries. If no supply of fresh water for them, they will die in a couple of days. This is the top 10s of high stress country, UAE, one of them, Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, Libya, Jordan, of course. Now Jordan shift, thanks to God, from 5 to number 1. No more, number 5. Jordan, they have no fresh water, no surface. I'm from Jordan, no surface water, no fresh water, no underground waters, nothing. They have a small area called Al-Aqaba Gulf. It's a small area, and they are not building a desalination, and always they are making Hidditch. I called the prime ministers, I called the king himself. I told him, we are in bad conditions. The country is going to be in disaster in 5 years. You will not have fresh drops water to the peoples. We are 11 millions after this crisis. So this is like, I told you it's awareness where we are. We are not in good conditions in terms of waters, okay? I want just to tell you something and look back, go back to your country and find this. The poverty line where the United Nations make the line, they said this is the poverty line where you are poor if you are below this line value, and you are okay if you are above this line. The water poverty line, to be in safe sides, it's 1,000. Kindly look for the countries below 1,000. This is just only short of these countries. Look for where is UAE and Kuwait. Kuwait almost zero, meaning that they have no fresh water. UAE 200. شوف Saudi Arabia there. We are below the poverty line. Poverty line meaning that there's minimum amount of water to be surviving. The worldwide said each person in the world, they need what here? They need 1,000 meter cube at least per year to survive in terms of surviving. If you are below this one, you are under huge stress of water shortage. Countries such as Kuwait, they have no fresh water. UAE, no fresh water. Qatar, no fresh water. Libya, no fresh water. Fresh water, what I mean? No rains, no rivers, no lakes, nothings. The funny things that make you laughing a little bit, you have a shortage of the water, but in GCC countries, they are the highest consuming of the water. Per day, each person consume almost 2 meter cube per day or 500 meter cube per day? Yeah, how much? Yes, 800 meter cube per day. You see the capita. This is per capita. It's huge. After US. It's a huge consumption. You don't have the water, and you consume a huge amount of water. It's funny. And this guy, he told us, our colleagues, awareness, and that's the things right now. You should be like, each drops, you should count each drop in your country because you have nothing. You have nothing. And you are said, don't worry, I will consume almost 800. I don't care. Let the government find a solution for me. So there is no something here, not science, an education about and the awareness of the crisis and the shortage or scarcity of water shortage in the countries. So countries like this, okay, I'll give you an examples. This is an example in UAE, by the way, but this is reflective all the countries here, by the way, and North Africa and sometimes Africa. Look for the UAE in 1969. The blue color, meaning that the area it's rich with underground waters. Nice areas. You have a lot of underground. Just dig 1 meter, 2 meter, 5 meters, get fresh water. 2015, your underground water gone. Look for the blue area. It's a small area. And the pinky color area, the yellow color area, the brown color area is a salty water. So no more water remaining underground. So don't rely on underground waters. God gave those countries a gift. What's the gift of these countries? At least they have a sea. Can you imagine the countries without water, without the sea? Meaning that it's non-country. No water, no life. So the countries under huge stress, sorry guys. Yeah, thank you. Look for the countries, they have shortage of the waters. They decide to use their sea to desalinate the seawater, their salted seawater into the fresh water for drinking. The drinking the bottles that you are drinking right now, you are happy with this. This came from a huge stress, sophisticated methods of desalination. You are drinking this, but you don't know how much energy, efforts, manpower, and money make this water to drink. You know how much desalination plants we have in the world? 18,000. Now, within 2025, we'll have more than 20,000 desalination plants. You know how much we are producing per day? We are producing more than 100 million meter cube per day. You know, this half of this fresh water coming from where? It's coming from the GCC countries, Gulf countries. 40%, which is 40 million of meter cube per day production coming from Gulf countries because they have no fresh water supply. So almost 40% of desalination plant in GCC countries, and the highest in the world, Saudi Arabia. You can see Saudi is going vertical, and USA and UAE. Saudi Arabia plus UAE, both of them is 1/3 of the world in desalinations. So, sorry, stop me, Pedro, if I am taking some time. Okay, look for the UAE here, by the way. You see the UAE country is a beautiful country. You are here. Their coastal side, you see the coastal side, all the side is fully with desalination plants. You don't see it, but they have no choice. And so in UAE itself, they have more than 71 desalination giga plant. Producing how much? Producing 6 million meter cube per day. How much their daily consumption? Their daily consumption is 5 million meter cube per day. Meaning that you have only saved 1 million, which is not enough. You have more than 11 million people here. And you have only saving 1 million, only extra, which is not enough. That's why every day you hear news, Saudi Arabia constructing the largest, the longest, the biggest desalination plant. Why? They cannot survive without water. You look for the coastal side, Saudi Arabia, desalination. Look for the area for desalination here in Saudi Gulf countries. All is planted with desalinations. Big, huge area. The UAE put a strategy, 2036 water security strategy. What? To have like 20% water resources, reduce the water security index by 3 degree. Index meaning that they are number 3 and 10, for example, they need to be out of the water scarcity country. They have to be. They are working very hard. Increasing the water productions. Now, maximizing the wastewater utilizations. You have a huge amount of wastewater in the country. Your daily production of wastewater, almost 70 million meter cube per day. But where you are using them? Very rare, 15, 20% of them. You know the market of desalination in the world? UAE taking almost 14% of the global market. Huge. You know how much the global market in the world? More than 15 billions. UAE, the most, in Saudi Arabia, the largest consumer of the desalination consumer in the world. So huge. You see, this is just, I list down some of the desalination plants there. This is some, the giga, how much their productions. And still, you see this red color one? The boxes is the new constructed plant, or they are ongoing constructed plants. 2022, 2023, 2024, ongoing. Huge giga plant. Why? They need the water. They cannot survive. They must have water. You have urban development, but how come you don't have water? No development without water. Okay, but desalinations, let me just give you briefly. In 1950s, they used something called thermal desalination. You know thermal? You take the seawater, and you know the boiler, the kettle one, when you boil the water, and you boil the water, and you condensate them. The problem with this, evaporate the water by the boiling, you need almost 18 kilowatt per 1 meter cube. 18 kilowatt meaning huge energy. If you don't have energy in your country, you're in big troubles. You need huge 18 kilowatt just to produce 1 meter cube. Recently, the world has shifted in 1960s. They shifted to something called RO desalination. RO, reverse osmosis desalination. Reverse osmosis meaning use some material called polymeric membrane. You force the water to go through this porous media, then the nice filtered fresh water come out. The energy consumption for this RO, only 3 kilowatt per meter cube. Here, look for this. UAE constructed the largest desalination plant in Tuwaila in Abu Dhabi, with daily production almost 900,000 meter cube per day. It's in the world. Sharjah, 250,000. Abu Dhabi, Dubai, 150,000. What made me surprised, last 4 months ago, I had a meeting with ILF Germany company. They said Iraq is going to build up 1.2 million meter cube per day. Just give some time to, yeah, it's okay. Okay. So you can see that they are building huge amount of desalinations, huge amount because they want just fresh water supply. Look for the market, guys. The market, this is only one type of elements, one part of desalination plant as the annually consumptions of RO membrane elements. You see the UAE is growing by 10% of consuming this element, which is one part, small part of desalination plant. The yearly consumptions would reach in 2025 $250 million per year. It's going verticals. This is all UAE. What about Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, Bahrain, Oman, Masr, Egypt, Libya, all these things? It's growing very fast. That's why the annual revenue for this market is almost 15 billion. Okay, let me now come to challenges. Challenges of water desalination in worldwide, specifically in UAE. May I ask you, I told you we have now in worldwide more than 18,000 desalination plants. But may I ask you questions? Do we have a single desalination engineers in the world? We don't have. We don't have. Saudi Arabia, the largest consumer of desalination in the world, they don't have desalination engineering. UAE, the second in the world, they don't have desalination engineering. GCC countries, almost 50% of the world, they don't have desalination engineering. Nothing. Even in Egypt, they don't have desalination engineering. Even in Europe and America, they don't have desalination engineering. No one produce or launch the desalination engineering. This is the first thing. Now, my second questions came out, and this is, by the way, I talked to the government here. My presentation is the government. Does all the desalination technologies applicable for these countries? I have no idea. See? Look for the maps of Gulf Arabia Sea. You see the red colors here? You see the salt, total dissolved salt, the salinity, it's very high. The problem, there is no circulation between Indian or Arab Sea, Arabian Sea, and this highly salt. So it's remaining highly concentrated salt in the world. Most of desalination technology fail with these huge conditions. So what we have done at University of Sharjah and UAE, we have launched the first undergraduate program in desalination engineering. This is the first in the country, in the region, and in the world. The first in chemical and water desalination engineering program. The program will graduate the first desalination engineering in the world, by after 5 years. In 2025, we are going the first desalination engineers. This program helped water companies. They helped us a lot to launch the program. And here is the syllabi of the program where the courses is quite new in engineering. So after 5 years from now, we will have the first desalination engineer in the world that can run all these 18,000 stations. So this is quite new in the world. Okay, now, in UAE also, we are planning to put some teaching tools for desalinations, as you see, stations. My colleague, Professor Tahir, was also working in designing filtrations. So we have research tools to solve our current problems, and we are building up facilities to have technologies that can solve the desalination problem in the country and worldwide. So we are not only in teaching, we're also, as a scientist, although I saw here about claims about scientists, we are developing the technology to solve the problems and worldwide in terms of water. Our target to get a high amount of water with this amount of energy consumptions. Thank you very much. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much. And Rosalia, I know that you have some questions, so maybe I'll just pass the microphone, or maybe some comments.
have, because, Abdulaziz said, we need scientists to talk. And we had a scientist to talk. And we feel like, wow, a punch in our stomach. You put the finger where it needed to put. So it's very important to hear scientists and to have scientists with we are professionals of science centers, more and more.
We're so used to having water.
And as a professor at University of Sharjah, and as you are program coordinator in this so important area of studies, what do you think is needed to do more to have more and more students? Maybe you need to have an alliance with the science communicators, with science centers, not only addressed to the children doing beautiful things, but reaching the goals.
Yeah, okay, I totally agree with you. We had problems when we start launch the program. To build up this program takes from us 3 to 4 years with the difficult times because it's quite a new program with the new courses. It's not offered in the world. So we offer these new courses. After we launched the program, the second problem came to us, how to launch the program for the public people, how to convince them with the quite new programs. Like, we don't have the facilities, and that's until now I'm facing problem. Because the program start only last semesters. This semester is the first semester for the program. I need the help of the science, as I told you told me right now. Yes, and I need the help of the people like you to give awareness of the water crisis in the world and to show the people the need of this program right now to be launched to solve the problem. In terms of publicity, in terms of like, tell the people about these programs or desalinations, we are lack of these problems because it's, as you mentioned, we are a scientist, so we have limitations. We talk when we are invited, but in the medias, in the publics, and the centers, we have no like hands there to talk to the people, and we need, yes, I agree with you.
Yeah, it is very important to work closely
Yes.
with the science centers professionals. Yes. And I'm waiting because I asked my colleague to find a picture, and the small video that I would like to show, because Aziz also said that we need to find what is relevant to the society, but relevant to the families, to the students at school, what they need to be inspired of. And here is Matt Damon. So just to have a quick look of this.
We're so used to having water right at our fingertips. You simply ask for it or you turn on a tap and it's there.
I'll start with water.
I need to have a shower.
I would kill for a glass of water to start, please.
Unfortunately, I can't do that for you today. We don't have any water.
I'm sorry.
Okay, bit of bad news. There's no running water in the hotel.
Oh, right, okay. Oh. Okay.
You don't have any water?
Yeah.
Wait, what?
Lá já não tem mais água. Não, o prédio
No.
Nos quedamos sin agua. Ya comandé su pedido. Va a demorar 6 horas.
6 horas?
Sí.
Mas esperar 6 horas por água, isso atrapalha o dia de trabalho.
Usually takes them quite a few hours, like 6 hours.
You have a manager on too?
You just get through the day without water. Not everyone has it.
Not everyone has it, but people need it, and if you come to a hotel, you kind of expect it.
I'm just like, should I go somewhere else? My time is very valuable.
Yo voy a empezar a comer.
No, vamos.
Ajá, 6 horas.
1 minute.
60 seconds.
I'm just gonna call him really quick. I'll be right back. I
Okay,
promise.
60 seconds.
If you could just hang 1 second, I'll fix all this.
All right. I'll like 1 more second, and then otherwise I'm gonna have to go somewhere else.
Be right back.
Thanks.
Hey, you. Hi, it's Matt Damon.
It's hard for us to truly imagine what it would be like to not have access to water. But for 663 million people in the developing world, reality is different. Millions of people spend up to 6 hours every single day just to collect water. Can you imagine what that would be like? If you had to choose between having a job and having the water you need to survive. What if it was your sister or your daughter who didn't have time to get an education because she had to spend hours a day securing this basic human need instead? So that is why Stella Artois has partnered with us at water.org, because we want everyone in the world to have time for what's important to them.
Thinking about, it literally being an all-day thing, 6 hours to go get water. I can't imagine what that'd be like.
Ou não ter acesso à água de maneira fácil. É impensável.
Actually got me thinking, gosh, what am I complaining about?
Ves que en el mundo es un problema real.
Me emocioné.
I don't know, maybe I take water much more granted than I thought.
You can help us by simply sharing this message or by buying a chalice to help provide 5 years of clean water for someone in the developing world. Together, we can change this. Together, we can give them time back.
Well, this is an example. What we can, but this is very impressive. This we feel touched and moved with this reality, because this is reality. Just one picture from a politician, a Portuguese one, which is now responsible of United Nations. And this picture in the cover of Times magazine was very impressive also. So sometimes they have a message and a strong message to deliver to the citizens. It's just 2 examples. Well.
Thank you, Rosalia, for bringing this and very good examples that also touch a bit what Waziz was saying about the using influencers in a way. Of course, Matt Damon, being a very famous actor, kind of brings the message along quite nicely. I have one question about this role of public communication, because you mentioned that the UAE, they have a water security strategy for 2036. Do you know if that strategy also includes public awareness and public participation? How can we make sure that people are aware of this big problem that the Gulf area has?
Thank you. Yes, actually, the government they put one of this, they call it public awareness. They are putting their plans actually to increase the awareness of the water scarcity sometimes in the media, schools, universities, and brochures, workshops, seminars. Yes, they are in that one. But the question is that one: is this public awareness enough to make a clear awareness for all the people, or is not enough? For me, still the people, they are not aware because they receive a cheap source of water from the government. The government paid the penalty for them, but the government paid the prices for them. They don't feel the pain as the people now feel, that this is 6 hours to just only walk to get the fresh water. Until now, no one feels the pain of this water, shortage of the water in the house. For example, can you imagine that the government said, okay, now one day Dubai will not be off of the water for 1 day. What will happen to the people, the water? It's awareness for you. You don't have enough water for 1 day. You will see now the people, huge people, they become like aggressive, angry. You can see the people, they got shocked at this one. Until now, the government, yes, the awareness through the public media, but for me as a scientist, it's not enough. You need a real example in your life. For example, guys, I'm sorry to cut down now 1 hour, 2 hours of the water to the cities. To tell you that this water coming to you, it's not cheap for me, and it's hard to give you these fresh waters. This is an example to tell the people how much the expensive of the water come to you, not in terms of price, in terms of huge efforts, time to give you this fresh water. You should save it and keep it and use it only if you need it, not just all to consume it like this.
Thank you. Reem, maybe I can ask you a question, and then maybe if there's any questions from the audience, please let me know. Just raise your hand. But meanwhile, Reem, I can ask you a question about the finding a solution competition for sustainable cities. How does it work? Do you invite schools to come up with ideas for the cities, or do you work, or you invite them to come to the planetarium and you work with them there? How does it work? And please use your microphone. This on the right, so for the streaming.
Yes, we announce about the competition, and schools take like booths to exhibit their solutions and projects. Maybe they are create some new ideas to filter water, to make a greenhouse, to use clean energy, and also institutions like what I show you in pictures. Ideal Standard used to have a booth to show the different tapes which good use of water, difference in tapes, and also Siemens take another booth to show their solutions for greenhouses and the clean environment, and so we at the final day of the event, everyone show the project and the idea, and a committee select the best projects to be selected for a winner project, and that's it.
Thank you. And is there any other questions? If not, I will ask maybe one final question to Aziz. You as president of the North African Middle East Science Centers Association, and looking at the big problem that you have in this region, but is a problem that is not only of this region of the Middle East and the Northern Africa, is a global problem. How can we, as a society, but also how can we, as science center professionals, can really work together to tackle this massive issue that we have? Do you have any suggestions of ideas where we should be going? Maybe you can use the microphone from Reem.
Sure. So just as a feedback from what a professor has mentioned, he mentioned that the presentation normally targeting governments. And this is what I meant when I said we need to approach each type of audience with the way or a medium that suits them well. Now, personally, I'm not with the approach to reach people by making them panic. Yes, you need to point out the problem, but if you do not link it with a solution, I mean, that's a failure. You just created a panic community with nothing. You haven't, dealt with the problem. Now, the issue here is the number of awareness campaigns is high, but the issue is they all follow the same pattern. It depends on flyers or press conferences or so, and that does not isn't relevant to the current lifestyle of people. We need to approach people the way they understand, they want to know. I think a lot of people know that awareness campaigns that started with do not or no, so we're talking about smoking or drugs or so, they failed because people do not like people tell them, don't do this. You need to shed a light on what's the alternative. This is what we need to work on more. So yes, scientists have put their fingers on the problem and they have the solution. Now our way is to shed light on the solution and the problem together, but using the way that serves the community best and for them to understand how is it linked to their lives. So a lot of programs, we saw a video that might work with some people, maybe those who like that celebrity, not everyone. But again, we need to approach people being more optimistic that there is a solution that we need to follow, whether it was the salination engineering programs for the future generation, or other technologies to be used and adopted in different countries. So programs are wide. Sky is the limit with options to do awareness, but we need to work hand to hand with scientists who are the experts, who have the information. After all, we communicate what they have of information in a way that people can understand. So what we do kind of is a filtration or translation of the language scientists are using to a language that the general public would understand.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Maybe some last words, Rosalia, or do we?
I don't know if it is last.
Well, no, last words of the session. Do you have some last questions?
I feel this thematic so important that as professional in science centers and in science centers, I feel that more and more we have been working addressing kids, addressing children, and doing wonderful activities for them, sometimes stressing them because they feel that they have to take care with water. They have to, but the solutions are not in the so young kids. Of course, they will go to families, we know, and they can pass the message. That's right. But, you know, my feeling, and you are professionals at science centers, I feel more that we need to, this is for my team, Ciência Viva. Hey, at home also, you are in Portugal. You can hear me. One more idea, I guess, is to have some activities only for adults. Wow, what the science centers are doing, only for adults, but yes, but the hot topics would be these kind of topics about water, how we need to save water, about climate change, about some hot topics, and to say a label saying only for adults. Is one idea.
Thank you very much. Finally speak. I just want to say something before I will close the discussions, actually. Nice to have a scientist talking with you guys. I mean, to see you the real problem that we are facing. Don't never ever think that the scientists only finger their points to the problem and just sit at the back and looking at you. They never solve the problems. We are showing you the problems, but we don't show you a huge amount of energy and efforts we are taking to solve this problem for you. I can say that I have been leaders of group leaders for several times, spending of millions of dollars just to solve certain problems, small problems. Not all the technology in the world we have it's enough to solve your problem. The problem now when it comes to the scientists, you want to solve the problems, they need a political people to support them, they need a country and they need the money, and they need a space and facility and manpower. If you don't provide with all of them, then don't complain always that scientists, they are not doing their job. You don't provide a support to them to tell them solve the problem for us. That's why you should not claim and complain. Now, let me open your eyes for something bigger. Sorry to say that. I'm not going to you in stressed conditions, guys. No. Look for Africa. You know, Africa, many countries, Chad, Niger, Nigeria, you know, Sudan, South Sudan, all the countries, Angola, Rwanda, they have shortage of the waters. Okay, now, they call us as a scientist solve our problem. When it comes to them, they are poorest country. They cannot pay the technology that you have it. What you will do for them? They force you as a scientist to find a very cheap resource of energy to solve their problem. Look for India. 1 billion people there. They will not pay the money of paying for technology. They have a huge problem in their rivers. They have arsenic and lead and arsenic and chromium. They will not be huge technology sophisticated to solve the problems. You have to find solution for India because they don't have money. Not always technology. We are staying in the earth where you have a poor country, they need solutions. That's why I told you we are not in luxury time. We are not like a rich. Yes, UAE, Saudi Arabia, they are rich. But African, South African, Indian, South Asia, they are poor. And they have problem with the waters. You need to find technology for each one of them. That's the stress we are facing as a scientist. So the solution for each continent, solution for each country in the world. So my message to all of you, each country in the world, they have problems with their own waters. But can they afford develop their own technology? Not all of them, yes.
Thank you. And any other questions from anyone? Exactly. I can mention that some of the activities that we'll and I think we're going to bring some of this knowledge that we've been gaining here during this afternoon is to bring these topics also to the attention of the policymakers. Not only, like you're saying, the importance of having political support is very important for science, and to get political support, we also need public support, societal support. So it's a cycle. So we're going to resume our science cafes at the Parliament in Portugal, where we're going to bring scientists. They're going to sit down in a more informal setting with the parliamentarians inside the Parliament, and having some discussions about these topics. And we're going to resume now that we have a new Parliament. We're going to resume. They're going to resume those activities for us are very important. So, just also to conclude, Ciência Viva as a national agency really tries to not only target the small children, like with exhibition. We also have activities for grown-ups. Maybe you have to enlarge that activities, but all the way up to policymakers. And I think that's kind of the direction that we need to go, and maybe some of the work that the science centers need to do. That kind of hubs for these type of engagement at all levels. So I think we'll close here. There's one more last comment. Of course, Professor, of course. Please.
Yes, good afternoon, everyone.
Maybe you want to move here, because then the cameras can see you, because we are mainly broadcasting. So
just a quick word, which I want us to add to this.
If you can,
if I can move on with this one.
Okay, that is fine.
It's okay. Yeah.
Yes.
Thanks, everyone. I think a very nice meeting. This arrangement is a very good opportunity because it falls within that scheme of the everybody is worrying about water shortage and ways to find alternatives or solutions. Now, I think you mentioned a number of points which are interesting to capture and then maybe to take on board. I just want to add something which, in addition to that, I think if there is a success story, if we find somewhere like you're talking about this research or science centers, which is a very good idea. It maybe it's already working well in Europe, maybe in Portugal. It is good to share any success story which works there, perhaps, to share it with other countries. Also, sharing the experience and sharing the ways of tackling things, whether at children level or adults level, or the suggestion with the links with politicians, with organizations, which they have the ability to contribute positively, not necessarily with money, those with money, those with influence, those with the media. All of this, I think, if you put them together, then you can have an impact. It's like one hand cannot clamp. So sharing this is very important. For example, if you have some good way of working, networking, passing the message, for example, in Portugal, it's good to share it with the rest of Europe, the Middle East, India, Africa, and so on. That way, we contribute, because at the end of the day, we're all humanity, humans, we have to help each other. So any success story elsewhere, it's good to propagate, maybe adapt it somehow in that different country, someplace, but it's good to pass that message. We should feel as one one family, big family, I would
yes.
say.
And I think those are the key words: collaboration, cooperation. So we
Yes.
can. This is a global problem, and I think we need to be tackled locally, but we can try to find global solutions that can be then localized and adapted. Very good. So as a reference, we also, for the ones here in the room, we have for you a water bottle that you can reuse, so we don't produce plastic. And also there's a cork from Portuguese cork that it's a memory stick with some of these good examples of the activities and also the exhibition that we have in Portugal. So there's a PDF inside with some additional information. So also for everyone that has been following us on EXPO TV, thank you so much for this opportunity. And as you know, at the EXPO next week is going to be the Water Week, so this topic is going to be discussed, and this was one of the first events, and we are quite pleased. And also thank you so much to the Portuguese Pavilion for hosting us, and also to all our great panelists. I think we had a great panel that was really important and interesting, and we learned a lot. So thank you so much, and we'll definitely be in touch. Thank you so much.